Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank you and Ranking Member Blumenthal for the authority to enable me to hold field hearing and listening sessions with the Veterans Affairs Committee in Alaska over the recess, and to allow the staffers of this committee to come to Alaska to see what some of the challenges are, significant challenges are with regard to the implementation of the Choice Act that we're facing in Alaska. I also want to thank Dr. Lynch and Dr. Shulkin and others of your team who spent almost a week in Alaska. I know we got a lot out of that trip. I appreciate you taking the time to come up, tour the facilities, go to the listening sessions, and hold the hearing that we actually had in my state. I did want to mention, Secretary McDonald was actually in Alaska before I was there, about a week before. I was actually in the great state of North Carolina doing Marine Corps training at Camp Lejeune until the Secretary was there. But I will say that one of the themes of his visit a little bit was still this theme of the problems in the VA are kind of caused by the Congress. I don't think that's helpful, and I think we need to just get rid of that whole line of, it's almost whining, right? We need to focus on addressing these challenges. There's a lot of blame to go around, but to have the Secretary come up to Alaska and kind of insinuate that it's really Congress's fault, it's not helpful, and it's actually inaccurate. So I'll pass that message on to him, but I wanted to make sure that I certainly heard about that. But Dr. Lynch, I'm sure that you would agree that we had a good result out there, and particularly I wanted to talk about in Dr. Shulkin's testimony, the 6 points that he made during the hearing we had in Alaska, and to fix the huge problem in my state about the implementation of the Choice Act. I'm sure that you saw it is quite a big problem. I know that one of the things that you've been talking about is starting to implement a way to correct those problems based on his 6 priorities by November. I'm actually not pleased with that date of November, so I'd like to work with you and Dr. Shulkin and other senior officials at the VA to move that up. You saw that it's an urgent need to address some of these problems. What I want to do just briefly was talk about those 6 points and see from your perspective if those were required, if we needed additional legislation or through regulations we're able to address some of these. I don't know if you have those in front of you, but he talked at point 1 about honoring the VA's agreements to ensure continuity of care for veterans seeking care with partners in the DoD and Indian Health Service and tribal organizations. Do you have that authority, or do we need to do something legislatively?
We have that authority, Senator, and there is no question that we will continue to honor those agreements and look for ways that we can perhaps incorporate those into future choice legislation. But there's no question.
You have that authority now?
That we have the authority to work with DoD and the tribal nations to provide health care.
Because again, what I want to do is work with you, work with Dr. Shulkin to do what we all thought was very important when we were out in Alaska, is to fix this problem. And his 6 points were very helpful in that regard.
Absolutely, I do.
Do you have those 6 points in front of you?
I don't have them in front of me, unfortunately.
Okay, because we can work. I'm going to run out of time here, but
I'll be happy to talk with you after the hearing.
Because what we want to know is we want to be able to work with the committee and with the VA to make sure that if there are authorities that are needed with regard to those 6 points that he laid out in Alaska, I want to make sure we have, hopefully to get through the committee, the ability to give you that legislative authority to fix those problems.
I can tell you that within about half a week of getting back, Dr. Tushmet and I did meet with the network director, as well as the Tri-West chairman, and we are moving ahead with the plan to integrate what had been a very successful care management system on the part of the Alaska healthcare system,
right,
with individuals from Tri-West.
Let me ask you on that November 2015 date that I think somebody had mentioned. I'd like to accelerate that. We have real problems in my state. A lot of veterans are suffering. Can you commit to me to move that date up by several months, by a few months at least? Like this month?
Well, we've already met with Tri-West and the network, and we are moving ahead with the process of integrating a service to the veterans between Tri-West and the VISN 19. I can commit to that, yes.
Okay.
The rest, I'd like to speak to you a little bit to make sure we're on the same page.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, again for the opportunity to hold that hearing up in Alaska. It's very important.
Thank you for your leadership in doing so. Senator Brown.